Farm Progress Broadcast presents This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry. Brought to you by Case IH. Solutions for every challenge. Equipment for every farm. Case IH, built by farmers.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us here for This Week in Agribusiness. I'm Mike Pearson. With the corn and soybean crops now fully grown across the country, it's a good time for farmers to get into their fields and take a look. How are things faring? What kind of research can we do on our operations? Well, for this week's Agronomy for Your Acres, Thaddeus Bates, the Senior Manager of Applied Agronomy for Nutrient Ag Solutions, has been doing the exact same thing on the Nutrient Ag Solutions Innovation Farm in Champaign, Illinois. He joins us from there now. Thaddeus, thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you, Mike. Good to see you today.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Innovation Farm down there in Champaign. What is it that Nutrient Ag Solutions is doing on the ground?
So we pick up where research leaves off. What we try to do is we accelerate the innovation. So we take these components of equipment, technology, products, practices, and people, and we compile those 5 levers and figure out what's best for the grower and their acre.
All right, equipment, technology, products, practice, and people. There's got to be a quicker way to say that, Thaddeus.
We call it ET3P here. We have gone through the decision-making process to come up with that acronym, and then we also bookend that with our soils, and we on the other end is our weather. So our weather team is located here in Champaign as well. I feel every time we get to speak, you bring in the moisture, so we really appreciate having this time.
Well, good. Glad we could lend a hand down there on the Innovation Farm. Now, Thaddeus, how do you bring those ET3P principles to practice on the farm? What does that look like on the ground?
So what we're trying to do is we work with the researchers that develop these products about 3 years in advance prior to them coming to market. It allows us to get the knowledge in how these products work, and then we can actually hit the ground running once they are hitting the market. So we don't have to have these 3 additional years after the products are out to understand and research, if you will, or trial these products. We know how they're going to perform. We can introduce them. The suppliers love it. We love it. The growers love it. It allows us to provide value to our growers quicker.
You know, as I think through that list, ET3P, people, is going to be a huge component of that. At the Innovation Farm, do you spend a lot of your time educating folks on the work that needs to happen in the field?
So we have 2 of those pillars active today. We have products and we have people. So the education is a passion of mine. People are a passion of mine. We have 30 of our crop consultants in here in Agronomy Essentials class right behind these doors. As you can see right behind me, we're looking at the products. We have a little bit more fungicide application to make. We're waiting for this weather to pass to make these final applications here at Tassel to produce that data that gives us a behind the scenes look to create the information that we can share with our growers for the ROI.
That education component sounds pretty crucial. Is it time to add that to the acronym, make it 2ET3P?
I'd be happy to do that. Education is a very key component as this world of ag ever evolves. We work with the FFA on a regular basis. As you know, we've had a student ambassador this past year, Miss Avery Watson, that had her trial went to the national stage there at Lucas Oil, and we have a new student ambassador this year with Grace Bickers, who's doing some economic trials on some sweet corn. So we know that these young adults that are coming in are very important for the future of ag.
They certainly are. Glad to see Nutrient Ag Solutions working to get them up to speed. Thaddeus Bates, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Appreciate your time. Thanks for having us.
Folks, if you'd like more information, you can get it at nutrientagsolutions.com. Our market segment this week is brought to you by Farm Futures. Keep up with these volatile commodity markets at farmfutures.com. Another week, another set of records in the cattle complex. Joining me now to break down the impact is Don Close. He's the senior protein analyst over at Terrain. And Don, that cattle on feed report looks like it's going to give us legs to keep this market moving higher. Is that your opinion?
It was certainly a surprise. You know, that marketings were well in line with what we were expecting, but that placement number down 8%, and the implications of placements to come, largely due to the border closure, that may not be the last one that would surprise us.
So Don, when we saw this placement number, it came in at 92% of last year's figure. That's a big drop. It's much bigger than analysts were anticipating. What does that tell you about the cattle complex as you look forward?
I think one thing that has been somewhat underestimated is just the impact that the southern border closure is having on overall placements, and specifically the difference that makes on available cattle supply between the north and the south.
What do you mean, Don? Are we going to see fewer supplies of cattle in the south since they're not able to cross that border?
You know, we had Texas placements were down 18%, going from memory. So yeah, we're really curtailing that available number of cattle on feed in the South Plains. That over time, that limited supply in the south compared to the north, we should see price spreads narrow between north-south.
All right, so we'll watch that happen. We'll continue to see higher prices at the retail level. And Don, that sponsors the next question. How are the American consumers reacting to this? Do we see folks still willing to get out there and write the checks for high-priced beef?
It's astonishing, you know, and so appreciated. We're still seeing very, very positive consumers' willingness to pay. I think it's fair to say, and a lot of it is seasonal as we get into the midst of the summer, but I think we've seen some signs of the consumers trading down the beef ladder, but we have not necessarily seen a lot of consumers jumping from beef to the other proteins.
Don, when you look at it,
across the board, demand's good.
When you look at it historically, are we spending that much more on beef, even though the checks are a lot bigger, in proportion to our income? Are we writing bigger checks?
You know, it's probably, as I talk with producers, it's probably one of the most frequently asked questions is, are consumers able to stay hooked with these kind of price levels? What we've seen, we'll do a comparison monthly, and we look at all fresh beef in relationship to the average hourly wage, and we look at all fresh beef in relationship to the consumer price index. Against the average hourly wage, what we're seeing is a very, very tight relationship that as all the fresh beef prices have increased, but so has the average hourly wage. So beef as a portion of their disposable income spend is really pretty stable. And then when we look at all fresh beef in relationship to the CPI, well, look, yes, beef is higher, but beef is not necessarily higher than all of the other goods and services that consumer is purchasing. So yeah, they're feeling pressure from inflation, but beef isn't isolated as the target.
All right, we're not too far out of line with the rest of the broader economy. Don, given this excitement, this enthusiasm, and a little bit of time we've got left, do you see this market continuing to rally for the foreseeable future?
I do. Now, you know, I think we're running incredibly hard, and obviously this rally is long in the tooth. But if we look at the cattle on feed data that we've already talked on a little bit, when we look at the outcome of the mid-year cattle inventory report, the 1% reduction in the calf crop, we're going to be tighter on available supply in 2026, and we haven't even began to talk any retention of females for expansion that would put additional contraction. So supply is going to get tighter. As we've discussed, our demand base still is very solid. And so, yes, we expect to see this thing to continue. I don't know that we will continue at the pace we have been running for the last year to 18 months, but I think there's more room to the upside.
All right, this rocket ship still has fuel. Don Close, Senior Protein Analyst with Terrain, thanks for joining us this week.
You're welcome. Good to be with you.
Last year, I had the chance to participate in the first American Soybean Association Farmer Forum, held the day before the Farm Progress Show. It was a fascinating look about how conservation practices can pay on your operation. And there's good news. ASA is going to do another Farmer Forum this year, the day before the Farm Progress Show. And joining me now to talk about it is Dave Walton. He's a member of the ASA. He's an Iowa soybean grower. Dave, thanks for taking the time to fill us in.
Yeah, thanks for having us on again, Mike.
Let's talk about the Farmer Forum. What is going to be the focus this year, and where do folks need to go to learn about it?
Sure. The easiest way to go to learn about it is at soygrowers.com, but we're going to talk about some of the details as we go through. But if anybody interested wants to get more information, more details, soygrowers.com is the place to go and look for the Farmer Forum tabs.
Perfect. And so this year, talk to me about the title. What is going to be the focus of the Farmer Forum on August 25th?
Yeah, so the title is Building Your Conservation Program and Profit Potential. And the focus is there are a lot of conservation programs out there, whether they be carbon programs, conservation output programs, whatever. And this is designed to really give kind of a high level and then be able to talk to people that are involved in those organizations that administer these to get a better idea of maybe what's a good fit for your operation, what's not a good fit for your operation. So it's really kind of a high-level overview of a lot of the conservation programs out there and the opportunities that are there to farmers.
Now, as we think about who's going to be walking through these programs, ASA will be bringing in experts on these various conservation practices to help make them pay. Is that right?
Yeah, there's going to be folks from various industries there, various conservation programs there. So it'll be a wide variety of people. And I think most of the major groups are going to be in the room. So it'll be a good opportunity to learn from them and be able to network at the end.
That is the fun part. It's not just educational, it's also networking. Dave, give us the details. Where and when is the ASA Farmer Forum this year?
Yep. So as you mentioned, it's August 25th at the Mount Zion Convention Center in Mount Zion, Illinois. That's the day before the Farm Progress Show opens. The program is going to run 1 to 5:30, followed by networking from 5:30 to 7:30. So in the network or in the program part, there's going to be several panels that'll talk through the various programs. But the fun part for me and what I really enjoyed in it last year is the networking afterwards. So we can go to those individuals and talk to them and talk to other farmers that are involved in the programs too to get a better idea of what it's like to be in it.
It's always good to get the practical experience of those growers who have tried something. Now, Dave, of course, we also encourage folks to attend the Farm Progress Show after the August 25th Farmer Forum. And ASA has a special way to say thank you for registering, don't they?
Yeah, we'd love to see you at the Farmer Forum, but we'd also love to see you at the Farm Progress Show. So in order to encourage that, anybody that signs up before August 20th and attends the Farmer Forum will get a free ticket into the Farm Progress Show. It's about a $25 value, but it's just our way of saying thank you for being there and maybe encourage a few folks to come.
Certainly. Kind of build on the educational experience of the week, learn about how you can make those conservation programs pay on your bottom line, and see what kind of technology is out there in agriculture. Dave Walton, thank you so much for filling us in this week.
Agriculture meteorologist Greg Solier now brings us his farm weather forecast for the week ahead.
Our weather segment is brought to you by SprayTech, making your spray applications effective and convenient. Use it once, trust it always. Greg Solier joins us now with a look at the maps and charts from around the country. And Greg, it has been smoky nearly everywhere. Any assistance for those Pacific Northwest wildfires next week?
Kinda, relative to late summertime. But and while the upper air dynamics, the support, the wind field is favorable to get some moisture going, it's again this middle and high level moisture. We may eke out a couple of showers, actual showers and thunderstorms, but more of a lightning producer again this week with a cool off slated into the northwestern reaches of the country. We're certainly hastening the opportunity to get out there with winter wheat harvest in mind in the Pacific Northwest. The ring of fire is going to get going this week as hot high pressure over the southwest, seeing systems over the top of the ridge, and the storms are back into play across Big Sky and the Dakotas. And boy, we need moisture into Montana. What is it? 75% of those pasture lands poor and very poor, and topsoil lacking in the same department and category. Matter of fact, 50% or more on the ratings for poor and very poor soil moisture and pasture land conditions all through the Pacific Northwest. So here's this trough into the northwestern reaches of the country. We get at least cooler air, maybe a couple of showers, more lightning issues across the northern Rockies, and the heat builds up to the Black Hills and over the top after the respite of cooler, dry air. Thunderstorms are back into play. Yeah, we made some improvement with dryness and drought over the western Corn Belt, parts of Nebraska as well. The hot dome is over the southwestern states, undercutting it. Low-level moisture in from the Pacific and the Gulf, and humidity creeps on up, and so do the showers and thunderstorms over the southwest. Robust monsoon season continues on. Some slight cooling into the valleys of California. Dry-based thunderstorm over the northern and central Sierra. These downpours will be just that, slow-moving storms across areas of the Four Corners and desert southwest. The heat and humidity into the plain states. Again, over the top of the ridge come the weather systems, the ring of fire, the storm clusters, and just like we talked about here the past couple of weeks, Mike, those derechos came into play over parts of the northwestern Corn Belt over the past week.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that over Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota. Any risk of that next week?
Yeah, I think so. As the week wears on, what was it? 92-mile-per-hour winds at Spencer, Iowa, 76 miles per hour at Rochester. I'm sure things got green snapped and flattened out there, and you're making calls to the equipment guys for harvest if you can later in the season. Severe weather into the Dakotas will slide south and east, but at least it's a nice respite across the Corn Belt. Cooler, drier, albeit smoky air from time to time over the Great Lakes region. We'll get a weather system here. Here's the warm front. Here are the upper level winds up across the Dakotas, dropping south and southeast. And yeah, these could be severe storm clusters riding the crest of the ridge as 90 and 95 degree heat moves back into the plains and western and southwestern Corn Belt locales as well. Here's the epicenter over West Texas and the southwestern states. Coastal showers here. We're getting some drier areas across sections soil-wise across the Cotton Belt. And we do come up with showers and thunderstorms, but it's the monsoon set up. Rio Grande, southwestern parts of the country. Watch the flooding. But for now, Mike, the Gulf and the Atlantic, quiet as it could be for the tropical weather season in mind.
How does that impact the outlook for the eastern seaboard?
More fine, fair weather. Matter of fact, a hint of autumn across parts of downeastern Maine. Here's this frontal boundary separating cooler, drier air across the Midwest with heat down south and west of the Ohio as the week wears on. Boundary lifts to the north, jet stream winds over the top, and here come the showers and thunderstorms, heavy and severe in clustered, scattered fashion, derecho potential into parts of the northwestern Corn Belt and advancing to the south and east. Over the southeastern part of the country, absence of any tropical systems. Plenty of rain in the forecast as well, perhaps into the southeastern states, some drier soils in Cotton Belt country, the thunderstorm activity as well into sections of the lower Mississippi Valley. We'll have that 4-week forecast coming up later in the broadcast.
Closed captioning this week is brought to you by Farm Progress. Their team of experts reports on innovative solutions and essential information for your farm business. Visit farmprogress.com to stay updated. There have been a lot of changes in agriculture recently, both at the federal level and at the state level. One of those big changes was the Big Beautiful Bill. Chris Torres, the editor at American Agriculturalist, recently dug into some of the tax implications in that bill. And Chris, some big changes are ahead for some farmers, aren't there?
There are, Mike. It's always a pleasure to meet with you. Yes, there are some big changes, and I think that the bottom line is that if you have a good accountant or you like to do all these numbers on your own, I think the advice that a lot of tax experts are giving farmers right now is to really buckle in and take your time and look at some of the things that this big beautiful bill actually offers, and get ready for the upcoming tax season, because it's going to be here quicker than we expect.
That's true. The year is already half over, Chris, and I understand you dug into a few specific policies that are changing, specifically Section 179, the depreciation policies. How are those shifting here as this bill gets put into practice?
Yeah, you have Section 179, and then you also have a bonus depreciation. There's also a bonus depreciation factor of that big beautiful bill. Basically, bonus depreciation is now 100% for purchases made after January. I believe it's January 15th or January 16th or whatever from earlier this year. So that's definitely going to be an advantage for producers who have made some big purchases. But there's also some other really interesting things about this that maybe some producers don't know about. There is, of course, the estate tax. Everybody talks about the estate tax. That's now permanent. So it's $15 million per individual, $30 million for couple. And then you have some certain things like the farmland sales deferral, and it actually allows a producer who actually wants to sell their land to a qualified farmer. They can actually defer capital gains taxes on that sale for several years. So that actually is an advantage for some producers who, if you're not selling in particular, if you're not selling to a family member, you want to sell to somebody, outside the family, or you don't have somebody who's actually coming up to take over the farm and you want to sell that farm before you pass away, that could be a good way to actually, delay your capital gains taxes. So that's something to look at. And then there's a rural opportunity zone fund, which is something that people should really look at. And basically what it does is for investors, this is in particular for investors. But it's something to keep an eye on, because what it does is basically an investor who has sold capital gains assets, like say stocks or whatever, they're able to actually use those capital gains taxes and invest that in some farmland. So there's some really interesting things in this bill. And again, I mean, the best advice is for any producer, obviously get ahead of your taxes right now. I know it's busy out there, but get ahead of it, because there's some good things in this bill, and there's some things that if you're really ahead of it, and you can definitely take advantage of it. So work with your accountant.
I think that is the moral of the story, is these things have changed in a very big way, folks. It's time, check with your accountant, check with your attorney. Chris, thanks for doing the deep dive
Absolutely.
on that. And folks, you can find that online at American Agriculturalist or at farmprogress.com. And of course, tax policies aren't the only things that are changing in this environment. Chris, we're also seeing funding for different ag programs change, both at the federal level, now at the state level. You recently dug into the Pennsylvania Beef to School program that's ending. Can you talk a little bit about that program? What was it?
Well, first of all, Mike, what were your memories of school lunch? Because my memories of school lunch were not very good.
No, mine are the same. Bringing my own and eating pizza,
So basically what this program does, and it was a great program, and basically what it did is it was a program set up by the Pennsylvania Beef Council, and they got some extra funding over the last couple of years. In particular, last year they had a really big increase in funding to actually help schools buy local beef from producers. That program, and you can look at the story. I'm not really sure how many producers. I believe it was 30 producers or so that were actually involved in that, and there was dozens of school districts involved in that. But what that would essentially do is that would allow school districts to actually go out and buy local beef from their beef producer. It was a 50-50 cost share, so the state would actually pay 50%. And the school would actually pay the remaining 50%, and that would all go to the producer. Hands down, it was, talking to producers and talking to school districts. It was an incredibly popular program throughout the state because, obviously it gave the producers an extra market, and for school districts, it gave them the opportunity to go out and actually buy this product, because if you really dig into it, school districts, in particular the cafeteria programs and school lunch programs, they don't make a lot of money. Sure. It's very, very little money that they actually make. They get reimbursed by the federal government based on the amount of free meals, reduced lunches, all those sort of things that they actually have to get reimbursed for. So this program really helped them to sort of go outside that and really go local. And it was a great program. Unfortunately, in the proposed state budget, which has not passed, so we still have, there's still some hope that perhaps this is going to be rectified. But in the proposed state budget, they are zeroing that out, or they're really severely reducing that. So it's unfortunate. And I think what's going to happen is some of these school districts they're going to have to end the program outright, or they're going to have to try to find another way to go into some coffers and come up with the money. So we'll see how it works out.
And in the meantime, those kids are losing out on that high-quality local beef option as well, which probably improved their school lunch experience, Chris. So that's a shame to see. Hopefully they can bring that program back. And folks, read the story. Pennsylvania Beef to School program on American Agriculturalist. Chris Torres, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Sure thing, Mike.
Folks, leave it here.
Farm Progress Broadcast presents This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry. Brought to you by Pioneer. Plant with confidence. Plant the #1 corn and soybean seed of the U.S. Pioneer.
Welcome back to This Week in Agribusiness. I'm Mike Pearson. Max Armstrong takes us next to Geneseo, Illinois, in a conversation with farmer Nick Gehling for our Plant Smart, Grow Smart series.
How do you scout your fields? What's your approach? Do you do it yourself? Do you rely on somebody else?
I scout them all myself. It's a weekly deal, a four-wheeler ride with a cup of coffee in the morning. Or at the end of the day, I'm just going for a ride and drive through the fields. And you kind of learn the fields, you know where your problems are going to be, so you kind of know where to zero in on faster. But I like to stay on top of it and be in them at least once a week. And then when I get to application times, it's more often.
It can be somewhat relaxing too, right?
It is. A cup of coffee on a cool morning when it's hot in the afternoon, just nothing feels better.
Let's talk about your weed pressures here, the most prominent weed pressures in your bean fields. What do you run into?
The biggest weed pressures we have that are problems are water hemp and giant ragweed. The water hemp is just adapting so fast and becoming immune to so many things, it's very difficult to kill. We've gone to like a 2-pass program on everything right out of the gates. I got out of college in 2000, so I came right in the middle of the Roundup.
Absolutely.
And developed the resistance. And it was a very cheap, efficient way to go about it, made a lot of money doing it. But that's come and gone. We got to do a 2-pass program. The main thing for us, we got to keep them from coming up, or we got to kill it when it's little. It's fine if you got to do a rescue, but let's try to prevent getting to that point if any way possible.
Are you robbing yield if you get to the point of having to do a rescue?
I feel you are. It is taking nutrients and it is taking moisture, and it just depends upon the year. There's years where if we don't catch some rain and it's weedy and you kill it, that moisture's gone. It might not come back.
Review for us your specific approach to weed control with the BASF products. How do you go about it?
Well, we either run Zidua SC or Zidua Pro ahead of our beans every spring, and it depends upon the year. I do it after I plant the field, and I try to get the Zidua Pro down before they emerge, is the goal. But if I'm planting and I don't have an opportunity to go spray, we can switch to the Zidua SC after emergence, and that really gives you the flexibility to do either one. So I like to do it after it's up so the soil's not disturbed and the chemical is even and we don't have anything potentially to come up through it.
You've been using Liberty Ultra?
Yes, Liberty Ultra. Water hemp issue's gotten to the point where if it gets above about 3-4 inches, you're not going to kill it unless you do that. And that's one of the products that we would use on some farms, but not every farm. And, we'll just adapt individually and we use it where we need it. And it does work very well and it does a good job.
It strikes me that you're serious about your weed control. How did you get to this point, and what information do you try to avail yourself of to really be as sharp as you can in weed control?
I rely on my salesperson and BASF rep that I'm a friend with to get the best information on it. I worked in the ag chem industry out of college for a few years. So
it shows. That explains it.
So I've worked with farmers and the different personalities and people that you're involved with. And so trying to steer someone in the right direction when you're on that side of it, when you get to be on the other side, you understand where they're coming from. So it's very important to me to listen to them, and there's a reason. They're not always trying to push more down your throat. Usually they've got your best interest at heart.
Thank you, Max. And folks, you can see our full Plan Smart, Grow Smart series online at plansmartgrowsmart.com.
Agriculture meteorologist Greg Solier returns now with his extended farm weather forecast for the country.
Our weather segments this week are brought to you by SprayTech, making your spray applications effective and convenient. Use it once, trust it always. Earlier in the program, Greg mentioned some precip across the country next week. Greg, who's going to see the rain?
More to come for the Corn Belt, but again, it comes at a price. You and I, over the past few weeks, have been talking about the potential for derechos. I think they're going to get going again. So you get rain. What was it? They had almost 80-mile-an-hour winds at Rochester and a quarter to half inch of rain. That's a pretty tough price to pay. But in any event, that's the story this week across the Corn Belt. Good downpours. Cotton country, we're beginning to see drier soils here. We've made some nice improvement to moisture across Florida, little to none under the capped atmosphere. Across Texas, downpours and flooding potential in the southwest, maybe a quarter inch, more lightning than anything. Watch the fires in the Pacific Northwest.
How are temperatures shaping up for the week of August 11th?
A little above average, nothing too worrisome, manageable across the Corn Belt. A little more heat and stress and strain on outdoor work and livestock operations across the middle part of the country. A little push of some cooler, drier air into the northeast of New England, and the storm track continues to be up towards the Sioux. New England and Mount Washington down, up and down the eastern seaboard, and maybe a little tropical something. I'm not worried about this. More rain for Florida. Lots of dry time for the Midwest, the Plains, and across the West too.
Is that heat on the move by the time we get to the August 18th date?
It is a progressive weather pattern, and we're building the ridge a little farther to the north and east. Here it is over the middle part of the Dakotas and upper Midwest. Southern Canadian Prairie will be up above 90. That's kind of hot for late August. Warmth across the Gulf Coast, normal across the southeast, a little below average because of cloud cover and showers and thunderstorms and downpours into the Rio Grande. Watch the flash flooding, but at least some drought relief. We'll get it in the Pacific Northwest. Look at the expanding dry weather across the plains into the Corn Belt. Wet weather for the eastern states, the northeast and New England, all inclusive of maybe showers and thunderstorms.
Take us, if you would, to the end of August, Greg.
Feeling like maybe July across the middle part of the country, mid-90s or a little higher. Look at the warmth into the northeast of New England, a little troughiness in the Pacific Northwest. But this is the expanding dryness and drought issue we're talking about. Could be favorable with crop maturity and harvest. Look at the wet weather off the Pacific down through Texas, the Gulf Coast, and in through the Atlantic. Yeah, I think September, October going to be quite busy with tropical systems moving up and down the eastern seaboard across the Gulf of Mexico as well. We'll certainly keep you up to date right here.
Our Farm Progress Update is sponsored by Brandt Industries. Lead the field with Brandt's lineup of heavy-duty grain carts and make the most of your harvest season. Visit brandt.ca for more. This week, we're checking in with Bruce Blythe. He's the senior editor at Farm Futures Magazine, and he's looking ahead to USDA's crop production report coming out on August 11th. Bruce, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This crop production report in August is different from a lot of the others. What makes it unique?
It is. It's the first report of the marketing year with farmer survey-based estimates for corn and soybeans, and there's also some satellite imagery involved. So these numbers tend to be taken a little more seriously than the ones released earlier in the year. You're incorporating farmer survey data, so it's considered a little closer to what the crop will ultimately be.
That makes sense. And of course, we've seen exceptional weather across a lot of the growing regions so far this year. I assume the trade's figuring yields are going to rise. What are you thinking for corn?
Yes, well, the USDA is currently at 181 bushels an acre, which would be a record. A number being thrown around trade in recent weeks is around 185 bushels an acre, and that would be a huge jump from what we have previously or currently. And you incorporate harvested acreage estimates, you've got a crop almost 16.1 billion bushels, which would easily be a record. Currently, the USDA is at 15.7 billion bushels, so again, another big jump. Trade is reflecting these massive crop expectations.
Absolutely. That good weather, everybody's seeing it. And we've seen the impact on corn already. We've come through a lot of the heat of the pollination season. Soybeans, that's ahead of us. Does the trade still anticipate a yield bump in beans?
It does. It's looking like maybe a bushel or two above the 52.5 bushels an acre estimate that USDA has currently. That would also be a record. So you get a number like that, you're also looking at a pretty big soybean crop. Maybe not a record, but probably one of the top 4 or 5 we've ever had.
Given that the trade is already figuring 185, 53, 54 bushels on soybeans, has this already been baked into the prices?
It looks like it. I mean, today November soybeans trading around $9.95 a bushel. 4-month lows. December corn around $4.10 a bushel, just above the contract low at $4.07 a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, the markets are in a pretty bearish setup. But again, we've got a lot of summer left. August, tends to be volatile weather-wise, and the recent history has proven that. With the derechos and
yes, that's a great point.
Yeah, so it's worth keeping an eye on. The crop is far from made.
It is, and it'll be worth checking out Farm Futures as we get close to that crop production report, because you'll have the analysis.
That's right, August 12th.
Fantastic. Bruce Blythe, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me.
Now on This Week in Agribusiness, it's Max's Tractor Shed, where we spotlight another great American farm tractor. We'll deviate in the shed just a little bit this weekend because we're less than 3 weeks away from the Half Century of Progress show. Max's Tractor Shed is brought to you by Lundell Plastics. Producers, their tough plastic agriculture products are designed to enhance your seed handling equipment, protect machinery from wear, and bring you increased efficiency in the field. Go to their website, LundellPlastics.com. Well, it all starts for the Half Century of Progress show on the 21st. It'll be the 21st through the 24th at Rantoul, Illinois. Let me give you some facts about the show, some of the frequently asked questions. What's the admission cost? It's $20 a day. You can get a 4-day pass for $40. Children under 12 are free. Golf carts, well, they've generally been spoken for as far as I know, but you can bring your own or a utility vehicle. There is a $40 tag fee to bring your own in. Pets at the show? No, this is Max Armstrong speaking. Leave old Shep at home. We love our companion animals, but they don't belong at this show. The Cooling Center, will it be open again? Yes, in case we have 90-degree days, you'll be able to go in there and seek some comfort, air-conditioned comfort. The Parade of Power is each day at 1 in the afternoon. There's a tractor ride kicking it off Thursday, 8 o'clock in the morning of the 21st. And a special treat for yours truly, former Agriculture Secretary John Block will be there. The only farmer to have the job of Agriculture Secretary, the only real farmer to have that job in the past 80 years or so. He'll join me Saturday afternoon at the show at 3 o'clock on stage, and he'll be signing some copies of his book, The Half Century of Progress Show, the 21st through the 24th. Then there's just one day before the opening of the Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois. That'll be the 26th through the 28th. They're just 60 miles apart. Take them both in. Mark Stock? Well, he'll be there. Here's his report from Big Iron now.
Well, hello, Max. Big Iron is known for our farm machinery auctions, all the equipment we sell throughout North America, but we also sell equipment for government entities, municipalities, and utility companies. On August the 6th, Big Iron will sell equipment used by Omaha Public Power District, Omaha, Nebraska. They will sell bucket trucks, service pickups, telehandlers, trencher backhoes, and pickup trucks. And we also sell equipment for commercial businesses like Whitcomb Brothers Grain Systems from Atwater, Minnesota. They will be selling grain bin and grain dryer accessories. And as we get ready for harvest, we have several combines and harvest equipment selling. Larry King from Mondamon, Iowa will sell a 2016 Case IH 8240 combine. And an advance notice for our August 14th harvest equipment auction. Premium John Deere farm equipment selling include 2023 John Deere S780 combine, plus corn heads and draper heads, and tillage equipment. And the Farm Progress Show coming up at the end of August will be featuring a no-reserve classic truck and tractor auction. If you have a truck or tractor you would like to sell, go to bigiron.com.
Our FFA Chapter Tribute is brought to you by Geringoff. Check out the new XFR 50 Draper with 3 times more flexibility than the closest competitor at Geringoff.com. Geringoff, proudly built in the American heartland. This week, we're getting to know Josh Pierce. He serves as a vice president for the Nebraska State FFA. And Josh, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about the agriculture around Pleasanton, Nebraska, where home is.
Yeah, there's a lot of irrigation. It's about a 50-50 split between cattle and farmland out my way. And yeah, it's about most of the farmland's all irrigated with pipe and center round pivots and a lot of cow-calf guys.
All right, it is a diverse agriculture there in Nebraska. Josh, what made you want to serve in leadership with the FFA?
Yeah, so when I was a freshman, we got FFA for the first time in my high school ever. We were the last ones in our county. I always knew a little bit about it, but once I kind of was able to actually enjoy it from a firsthand experience and get to know the organization, I've met so many people and got so many great qualities from the organization. Then when I came around to being a senior in high school, I wanted to continue that leadership that FFA gave me and give that to the next generation of agriculturalists. So that's what really pushed me to become a leader within our organization.
That's fantastic. And now as a state officer, I imagine you get to do lots of travel.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, we were just coming back from Washington, D.C. last week. We had a conference with all the other state officers from around the country. We go to Aurora, Nebraska a lot. We have a leadership center out there that we do some things at. And then, yeah, we go all around the state to different industries, different sponsors of Nebraska FFA. And yeah.
That's a story we love to hear. Josh Pierce, thank you so much for joining us this week. Colby Ag Tech is brought to you by AGI, supporting your expertise with industry-leading grain handling, storage, conditioning, and monitoring solutions. AGI, we're right there with you. Farm Progress Show is 3 short weeks away, and Chad Colby had the chance to visit with Rick Wild on the show grounds to see how the crops are looking for this year's event.
Rick, let's talk a little bit about what's going on this year in the field. There's a lot of excitement with our demos.
This year we're going to have great demos. Corn is looking really good. I've kind of scoped out the corn in all the areas. Looks really good. We got a lot of companies signed up for the demos. So we'll have our combine demos as usual, tillage afterwards. We're going to have a real good season.
So Rick, let's talk a little bit about that. If this is your first Farm Progress show, what can you expect going out to see the field demonstrations?
Big thing you'll get to see is all the new equipment and all the different different tools out there that everybody has. Get the opportunity to talk to each one of the companies as you're out there. So the combines and the tillage tools will take and run one pass and then actually stop and able to go talk to them. If there's questions and stuff they can't answer there, obviously they can come back inside the exhibit field and talk to the people in firsthand at their booth.
So Rick, there's more than just tillage and harvest demonstrations. Over the last several years at Farm Progress shows, if you haven't been, or if you haven't missed it, there's a lot of things around autonomy.
That is considered our ride and drive, and our ride and drive area is now booked up. We actually got 2 autonomy areas in the ride and drives this year. The biggest thing that I want to talk about outside the ride and drives is this is the first year that we're doing what we call the drone zone. So we've taken all our drone companies and put them into one area, and they will all operate out of a single tent. Each pilot will be there from each company. You'll be able to watch the drones fly from the tent. In addition to that, there'll be a big screen TV inside the tent, and the pilot will hook up to that TV and be able to see actually what you'll be able to watch on screen, exactly what the pilot's doing out in the grounds.
That's really nice. So he'll have feeds from his controller, and if he's obviously going to be doing some type of application, I'm sure just water or something.
It'll be just water, yes.
But it's neat because a lot of times, even like smart sprayers, drones, or autonomy, until you've seen it the first time, it's a completely different experience.
Yes, it is. And like I said, this is the first time that we've kind of put them all together, and I think it's going to be a real good experience for the crowd.
Well, Rick, like everybody else, we're excited to be a part of the Farm Progress Show, and I look forward to seeing many of you there as well. For This Week in Agribusiness, I'm Chad Colby.
Thank you, Chad. And folks, pick up your tickets right now at farmprogressshow.com. It'll be here before we know it. Across the country, farmers turn to a number of different fuel sources to keep their operations running, particularly when times get tough. Severe weather over the past several months across much of the United States has made many farmers looking for backup energy developments on the farm. Joining me now to talk about that is Mike Newland. He serves as the Director of Agriculture Business Development with the Propane Education and Research Council. Mike, thanks for joining us this week.
Hey, thank you very much.
You know, we've seen all of these severe weather events. Of course, propane is a great fit in a backup generator. Are you seeing growers make that switch?
We are. We've spent a number of campaigns promoting the generator, the fuel especially. I think it's something that as folks are putting in a new livestock containment building, confinement building, maybe looking at expanding the infrastructure around the farm. I think some key points about propane especially, our fuel is very unique in the fact that it will be stored in a vessel long term and really not have any condition issues. So I think that's the main thing that we promote all the time, how special and unique that consideration is, especially when you compare it to diesel. And that's really the two comparisons that we have. We sell against the diesel generators all the time. We think we've got a better solution and probably could save everybody on the farm a little bit of money in the meantime.
All right. Well, saving money is always a good topic. And Mike, to that end, as growers are looking to maybe bring some propane-powered tools to work on their farm, the Propane Farm Research Grant can offer some opportunities, can it?
Absolutely. It's a long-running program at PERC. It offers growers money back from our industry, from the propane industry, for purchasing new equipment that you're going to need around the farm anyway. So some of the categories would be building heat, water heat, but in the case that we're talking about today, power generation. So if you're looking to add some power generation around the farm, there's some help there, some money, and really the requirement for the grower is to just give us your honest input on the operation of the unit, how well it's doing for you, a little bit of run information, if you will, and we give that feedback to the OEM. So it's a very simple process, online application. Check comes directly from our organization back to the grower.
That's fantastic. And where can they get the information on that program, Mike?
everything for us starts at propane.com, but if you go to propane.com/PFRP, it takes you directly to that page. All the details, all the categories, all the amounts, and the application all start there.
Mike, you mentioned propane is a great fit for a lot of folks looking at livestock barns in particular when you've got those live animals. What about propane makes it a good fit for a livestock barn?
I think just the instant availability. You have the ability to store as much fuel on site as you want. Quick access to refueling. Gosh, if a big event happens, the industry is always there and ready to jump into action and make sure you've got the fuel that you need. It's a clean burning fuel, and I think we don't talk enough about that. I talk about that, especially as you start talking about live animals. And I always remind folks that our fuel is the one that people trust to cook their hamburgers and steaks on the back grill. So, it's got the same effect when you're running fuel out or a generator outside of a containment or confinement building. So, we have to be aggressive, at least talk about the assets and benefits of our fuel, and that's definitely one of them.
It is clean burning, that's the truth. Mike Newland, Director of Agribusiness Development with PERC, thank you so much for joining us this week.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
Well, we're very grateful to PERC for sponsoring the air conditioning at the Hospitality Building at the Farm Progress Showgrounds in Decatur this year. Be sure to get your tickets online at farmprogressshow.com. And thanks for joining us this week. Be sure to catch us next time right here for This Week in Agribusiness. This Week in Agribusiness is recorded in the Strauss Studios. For more than 70 years and 3 generations, Strauss has been manufacturing high-performance German-engineered workwear, work boots, and safety equipment. Prepare for the next growing season at Strauss.com.
This Week in Agribusiness is produced by 22 Creative Group and has been a presentation of Farm Progress Broadcast. We invite you to visit us online at agbizweek.com.